Chances are you're one of the millions of Americans just captivated by the case of Jaycee Dugard, freed after 18 years in captivity, allegedly held for all that time at the hands of a sex offender. Well, Jaycee is finally home, but what happens next? What happens after the cameras and the satellite trucks have left, after the calls for interviews stop? Recovery is often another trying ordeal with its own very real set of challenges. Terrell Brown reports.
This is how you put syrup on your pancakes.
Even though Jaycee Dugard is reunited with her family, her struggle isn't over.
She was in good health, but living in a backyard for the past 18 years does take its toll.
That toll, often psychological, now becomes the focus for Dugard, who was only 11 when she was kidnapped. She was held captive for 18 years in a concealed backyard compound. The suspect is a convicted sex offender who allegedly raped and had 2 children with her. Jaycee's story has disturbing similarities to a case discovered last year in Austria. 73-year-old Joseph Fritzl locked his own teenage daughter in a tiny windowless basement for 24 years and fathered her 7 children. 15-year-old Sean Hornbeck of Missouri was freed in 2007 after 4 years of captivity. He said he'd been threatened with death if he tried to escape. His father says patience is key.
I wouldn't even ask any questions. There's plenty of time. It took 18 years for this to happen. Don't try to get all the answers overnight.
The father of Elizabeth Smart knows that all too well. In 2002, his 14-year-old daughter was kidnapped in Salt Lake City. She was held captive for 9 months.
Things can never be the way they used to be, but there can be a new normal for them.
Terrell Brown, CBS News, New York.
Finding that new normal that Ed Smart mentioned, though, for the Dugard family will come with help from many different people, many professionals, including specialists from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Joining us now is the center's CEO, Ernie Allen. Ernie, good to have you with us this morning. We heard there, as Ed Smart talked about this new normal, Sean Hornbeck's dad said you can't really ask any questions in the beginning. This recovery process, is it really about recovering who Jaycee may have been, or is it about finding a new life for her and a new normal, a new Jaycee?
It's about moving forward a day at a time. The reality is, in these cases, these children have to be reintroduced to their parents. They're frozen in time. Jaycee is still that precocious 11-year-old, and her parents are going to look very different than they did 20 years ago. So what we're trying to do is to empower her, to give her the ability not to erase those 18 years, but to seize the reins of her own life and to move forward.
So how specifically do you start doing that? I know members of your team are headed out there to help the family. What are, say, 2 things that you tell the family to do and that you would tell Jaycee to do to make that process easier on both of them?
Well, I think the most important thing is to tell the family that they need to be patient. This is a process. It's a journey. It's not going to happen quickly. But we're going to say to them that you need to love Jaycee unconditionally. And we're going to continue to reinforce to Jaycee, this is not your fault. Nothing you did was wrong or inappropriate. We've got to learn from that. We've got to rebuild these bonds, and we've got to move forward.
There's also the question of her children, ages 11 and 15. These girls have never really been outside the compound. We know they've never gone to school. They've never seen a doctor. How do you introduce them now to life on the outside in the real world?
It's very difficult, and you follow that same process. You're careful, you're patient. Again, you reinforce with them that they have done nothing wrong, but this is going to take time, and it's going to take love and care, and it really is a journey.
Most important thing there is love. Real quickly, we tend to compare past cases because that's what we know. Elizabeth Smart has come up a lot. She was held for 9 months. Jaycee Dugard was held for 18 years. Can you compare those 2 situations?
Well, we can compare the situations, and I think the comparison is why there's such hope. Elizabeth Smart is a remarkable young woman who certainly can't forget those horrendous 9 months she spent, but she demonstrates that the human spirit is resilient and there is hope. We can move forward. The good news is that Jaycee Dugard is alive. She's still young. She has the rest of her life before her. She has these 2 children who are going to be a part of her life. We need to rebuild that family.
Ernie Allen, great to have you with us this morning, and I know you bring hope to so many people with your organization. Thanks again.
Thanks, Erica.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.